Man is part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself.
This is one of the nation's best sellers. Up to now, 500,000 copies have been sold, and Silent Spring has been called the most controversial book of the year.
Recovery of the Earth's ozone layer. It's one of the great environmental success stories of our time.
Japan announced this week that it has suspended its annual whale hunt after an anti-whaling group gave chase to the fleet's mother ship.
Hong Kong handles at least 50%, possibly up to 80% of the world's trade in shark's fin. If campaigners have their way, Hong Kong could turn from being part of the problem to being a major part of the solution.
Images that you've all seen of the turtle with the straw in its nose, or a marine mammal stuck in a fishing net. Yet that power and imagery has led to a United Nations plastics deal. It is huge.
Throughout history, the modern conservation movement has been able to capture the attention of the public and convince people of the need to change. But what really is a successful global campaign? And how is this 30 by 30 campaign stacking up to protect 30% of our global oceans by 2030?
I think it's extremely important to have well-defined sort of like North Stars and things to reach for. I think the hard part is how we do it.
So I was a politician for 8 years, ran a small city in Imperial Beach, California. So my whole thing was if the grandmothers, abuelitas in the grocery store didn't understand what I was talking about, probably I shouldn't say it. Slogans and words have meaning when people can visualize them. There's all kinds of emotions, right, that come out with that. Sorrow, crying, hugging, kissing, right? Like it evokes primal emotions.
Emotional connection is a key part of people changing their minds. And it's really important to have personal stories as really driving the message behind any environmental message.
If I say to somebody 30 by 30, what does that evoke? Nothing.
I think that the global movement of 30% protection of our ocean is a really important one. There are many different sectors, people, countries that are all facing similar challenges of climate change, of overfishing, of just a changing modern planet, and it's really important to have a unified target for everyone to work together on that, and it's important that it's simple and clear and kind of something that we can all get behind and work towards. But I don't think that you could go to anyone off the street and ask them what 30 by 30 is and have them tell you the correct thing.
It is always nice to have a nice little tagline. It is always nice to have like a, cute outreach thing, but that does not work if you don't have the policy and the science that undergirds it.
30 by 30 is a great goal, but I can guarantee you around the world, very few people know what it means. It's a great academic goal. It's a very important goal. Do I use those words when I meet with people and talk about conservation? Absolutely not. 30 by 30 is really good sloganeering, but the fact is, does anyone know what it means?
To protect 30% of the planet by 2030 is pretty simple. But when you really drill into that, there's a lot of complicated things. You have to talk about the benefits. You have to have it backed up by science. You also have to communicate the process, what's happening, why it's happening, who's driving it, how to get involved, and why are we actually doing this. There's really kind of big buckets when we think about communicating these things, and that's why it's complicated.
I'm very excited about how 3030 places a brand new conversation on ocean conservation, which would not have been there beforehand. It is very difficult, it is very hard, there is so much hard work to do, but everything that's worthwhile is hard.
The community that is driving forward marine protection often wants to rely on facts and science and numbers in order to change people's minds, and that's almost never the way that anyone changes their opinion. And while it's really important to understand the science, to have those numbers, it's really about people at the end of the day and ensuring that we take into account how this affects an individual, communities, future generations, so that we can really get people hooked into what we're talking about.
I've been very critical of sort of what I call conservation mumbo jumbo, or basically a lot of wordism that takes the place of doing things.
So while 30 by 30 is kind of a tagline and a goal, what's more important is to create processes that really enable people to be a part of whatever the outcome is. The average person understands that protection is something that's really important at this point, and it's not something that's as scary as it used to be or as off-putting as it used to be, because there's been a lot of hurdles in getting to the point that we're at today. So I'm just really excited with all the progress that's been made. We have a very long way to go, but I do feel hopeful that we can do it, and that's what keeps me going every day.
I want to preserve every piece of blue and green space on the planet and restore everything else. You know, the reality is the planet's at stake, the ocean's at stake, so we need to be a little bit more driven and focused. It's all about doing real things that save real places and real animals, right? And like, you have these amazing places and you can lose them in a second. And there are people out there that don't think they're beautiful, they just think they're profit centers. And you better have your together about what it takes to actually protect them.